But that doesn't mean that Sheffield Wednesday are not going to be bought. They will be bought. I think Sheffield Wednesday will be secured. But the interesting thing will be is how that's going to play out.
You see, Chancery will argue, Simon, that I haven't been a bad owner. I've just run out of money.
Well, to some extent, bad ownership and running out of money.
Why should he lose out? He'll argue.
Well, some would say that the manner in which he's run the football club and the amount of money he's put into it and the amount of wastage and the lack of direction and the lack of thinking and some of the things that I think that if you look behind the scenes at Sheffield Wednesday, you're going to be quite surprised when you see, will show that it's been bad ownership.
Really? And would you have started out with bad intentions? Probably
nobody starts out with bad intentions. But the manner in which, when I have no dog in this fight and no desire to bash as a former owner, another owner. But when I look at the situation with Sheffield Wednesday and the construct of the EFL, and I'm not suggesting that Trevor and Rick aren't trying to do the best things for football, but this idea that bad ownership should be protected is a flawed set of thinking. Because you're taking, if you have to pay Chancery 25 million quid on the way out, that's 25 million quid that football club does not have, that football doesn't have.
Yeah.
That Chancery gets rewarded, a bad owner gets rewarded.
Yeah. The club needs it, and he's got it.
But football should want it.
Yes.
And the reasons why it isn't being put into play is because the EFL rules are based upon the other owners saying, well, hang on a second, a club comes out of administration with no debts. That disadvantages us. But that's not the way that the ecosystem should work. You should want money coming into football, you know, and being invested in football. So as far as I see, looking at it, I think the administrator should be optimistic. The press reports are suggesting there's 7, 8, 9 people that have proved up 50 million quid. The debate will be how far, once you get under the bonnet and you start to see how people might have the bravery to challenge the EFL and say to the EFL, this rule that you've got, which says the 25p in a pound, you know, hang on a second, is it a rule or is it guidance?
Right.
And if it's guidance, we know you've got precedence on this with Derby, but ultimately, couldn't you have a view on this? Because you really want Chancery getting paid all the money that this football club could desperately utilise into investing into the rebuilding of a football club, rather than the re-establishing of an owner getting 20, 25 million quid for bad ownership.
So scrap the rule or modify it, maybe scrap it. What can Chancery do about that if they do that?
Well, he'll fight it. But it depends.
Why doesn't he just go quietly? That's what he should do.
Because he wants the money. And you're arguing about something. I mean, if you look at this isn't a public domain, so people can see it for themselves. If you look at Chancery's debt, there are two kinds of it. There's 60-odd million quid that he thinks he's owed in one respect, and another significant amount in another respect. And he's going to fight for it. And it's only the governance of the game that will either allow that to acquiesce. The administrator's got a difficult job because his job is to make sure that the creditors are paid.
Right.
There'll be secured creditors in there like HMRC. There'll be secured creditors in there like players. There'll be other secured creditors. I think the stadium's got a charge against it. But that creates an opportunity in its own right. But I think there's cause to be optimistic about it. I think there will be an outcome. I think there's some serious people in it alongside some tyre kickers. And the administrator's got his work cut out.
Right. Well, what we do know is that this January will mark 11 years on from the time that Chancery purchased the football club from Milan.
Bought it for 37.5 million, not for 30. What Jim says here.
He bought it for a reported 30 million quid.
37.
What kind of figures are going to go for now?
Again,
that's the bottom line.
Well, what do I think it should go for?
Well, if you assume Chancery's...
Well, if I were buying it, what would I want to pay for it?
Right.
As little as possible, and I'd want to give Chancery as little as I possibly could. But I also don't want to make the administrator's job very difficult if I were buying it. I would suspect if you can work hard with the EFL and work hard with the administrator and work hard with the idea of being robust with Chancery and take some views on what he may or may not do post the completion of an administration, all in 30 million quid with the stadium. But that's the beginning of the conversation.
That's about right.
That's what you find once you get in there.
Well, I think you're going to know what you find when you go in there, which is a stadium, because it's a matter of public record. A stadium that needs some significant investment. But what you've got is a community, a football club that has huge potential. But if you actually look at Sheffield Wednesday, despite the fact they've got huge potential, their digital footprint is nowhere near, funnily enough, what Sheffield United is. That's because Sheffield United have been in the Premier League. That's because, again, I looked at a comparison the other day with Stoke, not in the Championship.
Yeah.
And you look at their digital footprint, it's in the millions, whereas Sheffield Wednesday isn't. But Sheffield Wednesday is definitely a bigger football club with definitely bigger potential and definitely bigger opportunities. But you're going to have to work it. It's going to be a League One football club next year. You're going to have to work it. And I would suggest the model that you want to look at is what Ipswich managed to achieve, which is not too much money being poured into You know, building a football club that needs a bit of sustainability with a bit of ambition attached to it. The fan base want people to lead them. They want somebody that can take that football club forward, is my view.
Yeah.
But they also want a football club that's successful. So you've got to balance that. You've got to balance that. And it's about who the ownership model is going to be. Of course, everyone will scream for the next Middle Eastern owner or the next American owner. In an ideal world, it might be nice to have an owner that might have come from that part of the world.
Do you think he gets tied up this side of the new year?
If you look at what the administrator says, he's pulled the cash forward. So he's got cash flow until March of this year. From his point of view, he'll want to get his X amount of hundreds of thousands or millions of administration fees as quickly as possible. So I don't think there's any reason why it couldn't be, but the battleground will be Chancery.
Okay. Simon, thanks very much indeed. A roundup, that was a roundup of the top business story, and we wanted to try and clarify things for all Sheffield Wednesday fans listening, as you do in big numbers. And we did that with Tesco Mobile for Business.